Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Creative Coaches. I'm Donna Guerin, founder of Global Lighthouse Studios. We connect teachers and students around the world through the lens of music and the arts. And I'm joined here today by my co-host,
Dan Roeder. I'm Chief Academic Officer of the David Z Foundation, and we transform lives through the magic of music. And we are very pleased to have our guest, Dan Ryan, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, Dan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Ryan. I know Dan Roeder in particular through X. We have lots of overlap on social media, particularly on that platform. We've hosted spaces together. Dan has been a frequent listener and oftentimes a very valuable speaker in a weekly space that I host, and that is called the Keep On Keeping On space, also known as COCO. And just to share a little bit about well, Spaces is a social audio environment where folks from all over the world on the internet get the opportunity to hold really interesting conversations. I discovered it about a year ago and have known Dan for a number of months. This is all about creativity, and I'm very interested in creativity. And that is an environment where I've had the opportunity to bring people on who do a wide variety of, who have a wide variety of specialties, from musicians to artists to course creators, just to cool people. So it's fun.
great. And when can we hear that show on X?
It's every Tuesday morning from 9 to 11, sometimes a little past 11 Central Time.
All right, 9 to 11 Central Time. We got to challenge some people to do some quick math here. I know Dan loves time zones.
Time zones are the best. I'm so good at them, and you know that's not true.
So let's see, 9 to 11 Central would be 10 a.m. Eastern, and I believe that would be 7 a.m. Pacific. So there you go. I just did the math for you. I'm just like Excellent. A time zone person.
Yeah.
So. Well, Donna, didn't you used to have like clocks behind you in your office? Like
I did.
For every time zone in the world.
I did have that. And it was actually really fascinating until a student said to me, well, why aren't they digital? Like, what? Then you have to like manually change them, like, a couple of times a year. And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, you know what? If you figure that out, how to do it digitally behind me, that would be awesome. And I would totally do that. I'm like, so if you can figure that out, the challenge, thrown out.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I mean, I actually just learned that we don't all do daylight savings at the same time across the world. So that's always extra breaks my brain. But Dan, wanted to just ask you about creativity in your life. So first of all, like what do you do artistically? Because I actually, for as long as I've known you, I think I met you probably early on when you were in Spaces. I remember meeting you about a year ago. So I'm just curious, like what is it creatively that you do? Like I think visual art, right?
Yes. So that's where I started. So for a long time, I've painted acrylic paintings. This is not one of my paintings. This is
I was just going to ask.
Yeah. My partner is a painter as well. So this is one of my partner's paintings. Yeah, that's, so it's interesting that you talked to me, you brought up coaching as well as creativity. And so I have a lot of experience in management, at work, in the telecommunications industry. And so I have done a lot of coaching and working with people who are developing in leadership roles and that sort of thing. And then out, in my personal life is where I've really explored creativity, and primarily through painting. And then, so we have known each other for a good while, and I decided about a year ago to become active on social media. Before that, I wasn't really. And the way I look at it, creativity, at least for some of us, can exist in a lot of different formats. And I'm aiming to just be a creative spirit, a creative person, and to apply that in different ways. Really, you know, it's kind of like learning a new way to communicate effectively uh, uh, when you dive into the world of social media. But my intention is to bring creativity to that. I feel like I've done a pretty decent job doing that in the Spaces environment. But to get back to your question, it is acrylic paintings that where I have um, practiced my creativity most of all over the years.
When did you first realize that painting was like your creative outlet?
I mean, as early as high school, I was interested in making art. So a little bit of painting, a little bit of photography, uh, and then in my early 20s, I had access to canvases and paints, and just jumped right in and started doing it. So, yeah, and I actually love music very much, but I have no musical background, no musical skill. But yeah, I would say in my early 20s. And recently, so then more recently, in the last couple of years, I learned digital art. I use that for creating print-on-demand products. So that's kind of just another step into the world of e-commerce and that sort of thing. So I do enjoy making images for sure. Hmm.
Yeah, that's something that I am realizing more and more, that there is this crossroads of the arts, and I think more, especially with AI coming onto the scene. Um, what I really get out of the Coco spaces every week is the art of conversation, and I think AI in many ways can bring that art of conversation and language and that richness of being able to describe something into the visual arts. So, for instance, I really love theatrical painting, but I don't like the up close painting. At least not my up close painting. I love looking at paintings, but when you give me a canvas or like watercolor paper, I just kind of freeze. But you give me a whole set to paint, I'm on it. Like I can see it. And so I think there's so much crossover between the arts and between the scale of the arts. Like I said, especially with AI. And that's where I guess, since I brought it up, I am kind of challenging um, the, the decoding of the acronym AI. I've never really liked the term artificial intelligence. It automatically seems kind of polarized and just kind of off-putting. And like, this is not real. But the things that you can do with AI, my favorite decoding of it is augmented imagination. And so for myself, being kind of, having this experience of, um, I have analysis paralysis when I pick up a paintbrush, but you give me some words and say like, hey, this program can suddenly make this part of your imagination come to life in a visual way. Suddenly, it's not so scary to me. So that to me is just one way that in the last year, really, I've been able to appreciate more what I see in visual arts, because I understand how many steps it takes to actually create something that is on canvas. It's not something that's automatic. Just like I would imagine if somebody listens to a piece of my music, they think, oh, that's nice. That must have been super easy. No. So yeah, it's so yeah. Any thoughts on that?
So I very much enjoy AI. I didn't, and credit to Spaces and some of the cool people I met in Spaces for that. I wasn't attuned to AI a year ago. What you just said sounds a little bit familiar to me, because I've heard other people speak to kind of accessing new areas of their creativity, including visual creativity, through AI. So if drawing wasn't natural to them, if painting wasn't natural to them, like early on, there were these a lot of spaces I would attend where they ask the question, is an AI artist a real artist? And my opinion is yes. It's just another tool to work with. So I definitely hear what you're saying, and I experience it in a way as well. I mean, I feel the process of painting it's a joy, and you can kind of get lost in the moment, just being creative in the flow state. I don't feel that as much when I'm staring at a computer screen, but it's a really fun and interesting tool to work with. Hope I answered your question there, Dan.
Yeah, well, I tossed a lot at you, so I think that was a really good synthesis of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I've always loved painting. I wouldn't say I'm a wonderful artist, and but I've always enjoyed just the, to me, like the serenity of painting. And I love to mix painting with music. I love listening to music and allowing the music to allow me to create. So
hmm
they kind of just have this like powerful knack of working really well together.
hmm
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Right. So, I mean, one of my favorite things has been to just put on a favorite album or an album I've never heard before, and paint. Or what I just love music and listen to it quite a bit. So it extends into different areas of my life. Dan, you look like maybe you were about to speak.
Oh no, I just agreeing. And that's
Yeah.
it's an experiment that I've done many times in class. Donna, I think we've done this a couple times too in different classes throughout the years, where you put on different types of music, and it's a little drawing experiment that you can do in classes, but you can also just do for yourself. If you put on one piece of music that is very fast tempo and high energy, and then just lay out, I do it with color crayons, but lay out the crayons in front of you and then just allow yourself to pick whatever crayons and then just start drawing whatever texture you're hearing, and then flip the paper and then do the same thing with slow music and see what it does. Yeah, and just for me, this is not being prescriptive, but rather descriptive of my experience. Typically, if I do that experiment with like the I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but yeah. So anyway, uh, um, you do it with that. I end up picking like reds and yellows and oranges, and I draw in like very jagged and like kind of sporadic patterns. And then I do the Beethoven Pastoral Symphony, like that one, of course I remember. Um, and then it's like blues and purples and greens and like very, calm, serene, circular lines and everything. Um, and it's depending on what you put on, will kind of give you this different sense of color and line and experience that you can then capture visually. So it's a really interesting experiment that people can do.
hmm Yeah, that sounds fun.
Absolutely. And, I've done that too. Like when I'm writing, if, for example, I want to write a piece of poetry, I typically don't put on something that has lyrics. I usually choose instrumental because then I get caught up in the lyrics and then I'm like, wait, I'm coming back to my poetry. So I think that, music can affect your mood, whatever creative outlet that you're doing. But I feel like it's at least for me personally, music is very integral to whatever creative outlet I'm using. So.
hmm
Absolutely. And saber dance, that's what it was. Anyway, so Dan, question for you.
hmm
What would you recommend for people that might get stuck on creativity? Like whether they're writing or painting or drawing or composing a piece of music, and they hit this quote unquote writer's block. What helps you get unstuck, or what helps you kind of take the next step when you have that brush in your hand, and you have a moment where you're just like, what do I do next? I'm always curious. I ask everyone that, so I'm just curious about your response.
Okay. Well, with acrylic painting, it's really a matter of just taking action, and but it probably does depend on the individual. So I like to do abstract work and just let it flow. And so like, and that's how I started painting. And that's sort of probably a reflection of maybe how I think, right? So I'm okay at painting realistic work, and maybe shifted more in that direction over time. But I would, to a large extent, I would say, stop worrying and enjoy the process. But I also do think it's very much an individual. It kind of depends on an individual person's personality. Some other things actually might be stepping away from it, taking the pressure off, and going for a walk. Another is to step away from the work that you're doing and enjoy the artwork that you see other people creating and find inspiration from others. Yeah.
Yeah, that action of stepping away, that is powerful. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you were in my space this morning, which was great. And you heard me talking about personality types, right? And this is on my mind because it's not something I really. I mean, I probably took personality tests here and there over the years, but I did this several days ago, and I decided to dig deeper on that. And so that's kind of at the forefront of my mind, is that we're all wired differently, and there are different, like, that means that different, we're inspired by different people and environments. So I suppose just kind of working on that self-awareness is really good as well. But I would guess I get stuck too, like, I've, compared to the last year, the last couple of weeks, I've been a lot more in my head, and a lot less, driven to share outwardly. And I think I feel like that's okay, right? Um, so part of the process might be, working on your long-term habits and being okay when it ebbs and flows.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that self-awareness piece has really come up in a lot of conversations recently, and I think it's really one of the things I've been studying more and more is the interaction between self-awareness and then the social awareness, like what's going on and how those different dynamics ebb and flow within what's going around us and what's going on in our heads. It's interesting to hear you say that you're kind of in your head more the last year, because I've had the opposite of experience. I've lived most of my life in my head, and I'm finally like starting to like push outwards. So it's just a very different experience, when
Yeah.
that balance.
Yeah, I should clarify. I don't know how well I said it. I've been more in my head the last couple of weeks. Yeah, but working on being probably more outward and expressing myself in the last year as well. So, and I'm aware that that's been kind of your path recently. So,
That's awesome.
definitely I have, and this has been part of these personality type tests. Definitely, I have an introverted side. Um, right, but I really love people and love communication. So I really feel like the spaces that I host are an act of creativity as well, and I think that if you're doing it right, you're using social media, in a thoughtful way, you can understand yourself better, you can communicate more effectively with people, you can access your creativity, but you can also kind of get a feel for, if you're not sure what people respond to.
Exactly.
So my thoughts on creativity are that it can be really broad, and for some of us, there's more than one way to express it. Do you mind if I ask you both a little bit about
Go for it.
this creative coaches live stream and this series? I watched your other videos, and I know that you're meeting with people with different areas of expertise, different personalities. Um, do you have core, um, let's see, questions that you're seeking to answer?
Donna, do you have a? I have an
No,
idea, but yeah.
yes, I was going to let you answer.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess for me, it's a matter of finding ways to connect with people, and that's what I'm also an introvert. I'm curious, Donna. I'll pass you the mic next, but I'm curious if you identify as more introverted or extroverted, because I often present as an extrovert, but I'm very much an introvert. And so for me, it's a way of connecting with people through creativity. And the other piece is through both of our brands, Donna and mine. We want to make the world a more connected place and a more artistic place and musical place. And so that's kind of what aligned us. And like even I did the right hand. It's backwards, but music connects. So it's all about, for me, connecting with people, and music is my media. And that's just how I choose to do it. But Donna, I'm curious, do you identify as an introvert or extrovert?
150% introvert. I'll open up once I know people. Like once I get to know you, then I'll start sharing. But for the most part, I keep my thoughts to myself most of the time. And so that's why I love connecting with people, especially people related to music and the arts, because not all, but a lot of them tend to be extroverts, and I tend to gravitate towards those people because I love to learn from them. So, but if you were to ask me which one I'm more of, I'm definitely more of an introvert for sure.
That is so interesting, because like whenever we need like things to just get done, we just turn it to Donna, because we're like, hey, go New Yorker on them. But like, and so that's why it's so nice to have these conversations, because it's easy to assume that because you're from New York and because you have that very forward way of, and direct way of asking people for things, and just, very concrete, sequential, it doesn't mean you're extroverted. So that's wonderful to learn about you.
Right. And I love talking about other people. So if it's something that I need to reach out, especially something with music, that's why I don't mind, approaching artists, musical artists, because I feel like I'm talking about something that they enjoy. And so I want to turn the spotlight on them. And so, and that's really what Global Lighthouse came from, right? It's all about putting the spotlight on others and shining a light on other people. And so I was very mindful when I named Global Lighthouse, because I feel like that's part of who I am as a person. I like to shine light on others. So that kind of speaks a little bit about
that's
me.
amazing. Yeah, well, it's time to start wrapping up, just to stick with our brand and have this be one of our shorter shows. But we've got 3 introverts here live streaming, so think about that. I mean, that's interesting.
Right. Next time you're afraid to pick up a paintbrush, don't be, right? Because you never know what could happen.
All right, Dan, back to you. Any closing thoughts, just based on this conversation?
I want to say I'm honored to be on your show. I think this introvert extrovert conversation is very interesting, and to kind of provide a nuanced angle, some of the personality testing that I just recently experimented with helped me look at my extroversion and introversion. And I'm similar to you, Donna. I love meeting people. I love finding about understanding their art and their interests, and sort of shining a light on them and kind of helping bring them forward. So when in terms of how I coach and lead, it's a lot of times it is about helping people feel confident and step into their strengths, which I think is along the lines of what you guys are doing. So it's awesome. Yeah, I just want to express my gratitude for you guys having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Donna, we'll let you close the show, but I just wanted to add in there on personality tests. I've been recently talking to one of my friends about spiral dynamics, and that is a whole rabbit hole that I don't have time to go into right now, but it's been really interesting learning about how all of these different personality archetypes kind of can blend and ebb and flow. And it really is, to me, important to focus on the connection between them, and that the fact that there is no solid archetype in a personality. You know, there is going to be a blend. Whenever you label somebody something, that's two dimensions. It's like labeling somebody something with an etch a sketch, and you have like the up air, you know, the up and down. That's it. You're in two dimensions. But I think we are all three-dimensional, four-dimensional sculptures. You know, four-dimensional. I guess we're going through time. So there's a lot more to us than meets the eye. And I think this conversation really celebrated that.
Yeah, 100%. I hear you. I agree.
All right, Donna, final thoughts? Uh-oh, are you frozen? Oh no, maybe I'm frozen.
I see you, Dan. You're moving.
Okay.
And I hear you. But yeah,
Donna, are you frozen? Okay. Well, Dan, I guess this will be the close. Oh wait, Donna, you're back! Yay!
Yes,
All right.
I was like frozen in time there for a minute. I was
over
like,
to you.
Boy, well, if you just wanted to like say, you know, you don't speak at the moment, that's okay. But all of a sudden I was frozen. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I did say 3 dimensions in time, so we're 4-dimensional creatures. So over to you, Donna, before you freeze.
All right, before I freeze, thanks so much for being here today, Dan. It was wonderful to meet you. You're welcome back on the show anytime, as we say to all our guests. And thanks, Dan, for being the co-host today. I know you're feeling a bit under the weather, so thanks so much. And until next time.